Yo, these youngins don't move like we used to. Ain't throwing Sunday barbecues like we used to. Why don't they ever keep it cool like we used to? Why don't they just stay true like we used to? Hey yo, these youngins don't move like we used to. Ain't throwing Sunday barbecues like we used to. Why don't they ever keep it cool like we used to? Why don't they just stay true like we used to? Like we used to.
Moving in the slab down the street on some slow shit, 2 miles an hour, so everybody notices.
Our senses, right? We can see, taste, touch, smell, and hear.
I'm in my element on a level you never been. Where you got is irrelevant. Do what you never done, and I done what you never did. And my greatness is evidence. When it comes to the money, this isn't a game. I ain't making monopoly funds. Don't run from a hater. Pull up with the heaters and hop out like you hit the block with the sun. Who you know sharper than one? I'm smoking all the competition like a prime time. I'm spitting that Gucci, that Fendi, that Prada, and dropping these top of the line rhymes. Them line rhymes like dimes. Cause in my mind there's no contest to these metaphors and these concepts. I got them feeling so hard pressed. They won't press back cause they harmless. Right-handed but I got a strong left. You can't handle these paws that I spar with. And like hammers I bang on your forehead. And they all vexed cause I'm all next. Gotta panic and like it's a bomb threat. Cause the shit that I'm spitting is hitting so hard that the damage is so river cortex.
Your cerebral cortex, your fucked up cerebellum.
Welcome to Dangerous Thoughts. It's tonight. It's Sunday night at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. This is Dangerous Thoughts. This is the show where we dive deep into the fringe science of reality. We also talk about very uncomfortable things sometimes that people don't normally talk about. This show is called Dangerous Thoughts because me, Manu Intireme, your host, and my co-host, Tyson Strasberg, live dangerously. He's a Coast Guard, for God's sakes. You know, do you know how dangerously those people live? I was actually watching a show today about the Coast Guard, and there was some asshole that had stolen a boat, and he was like out on the Columbia River Gorge or something like that. And there were these huge waves, and he was on the back of the boat, and there was a helicopter just hovering like 60 feet above the waves, trying to save this dick that had stolen this boat. And that the wave literally threw his boat like a tin can, but they did pull this guy out of the water. And I thought, wow, Tyson does that kind of stuff. Tyson works for the Coast Guard. Like, you guys are like, you know, badasses.
I've been boat crew for a while, but yeah, when I was boat crew, we had to do surf training, which was awful. That's where you take the boat, you know, right in the surf where the waves are, and that was.
Yeah,
we got a little too close to shore one time, and we hit a big wave, and the boat almost capsized. And I'm like, okay, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
And part of boat crew, yeah, they toss your happy ass out in the freezing cold water and make you swim for so long, and that was not fun. But other than that, boat crew is pretty cool. Now I do Coast Guard radio, which is a lot easier.
Late, I got high. It happens. We all, you know.
Yeah. I'm old now.
No, but that's cool, man. I think, you know, like the footage I saw, there were like 3 or 4 boats out there, all in that dangerous surf that you're talking about. And it wasn't surf, but it was mega waves. It was a storm. So it was that element of rogue wave coming this way, that way, boats trying not to capsize. And of course, the one that the guy was on did, because he wasn't a Coast Guard and he was an asshole that had stole somebody's boat. But amazing too that these guys would take the helicopter and all that gear and come out there and save this man's life that was such a creep. It shows just a lot of valiant.
Well, the Coast Guard was merged of 2 services. It was the U.S. Revenue Cutter Service, which is the oldest services, and then there's the U.S. Life Saving Service. And the 2 merged and became the United States Coast Guard. I'm in the Coast Guard Auxiliary. I do want to point out that my day job is for a healthcare provider. My free time, my volunteerism was with U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. But yeah,
but you did work for them in the past, right? I mean, you were a
I was never employed for money, Coast Guard. I was 20 years I've been in the auxiliary, which is volunteer. But I have done boat crew. I wear the uniform. I go out. I serve, and it's. Some of what they do is really scary. Now I've done search and rescue. I've done ATONs, PATONs. There's a lot of other word salad out there that we do. But Now I do radio. It's a lot safer. I can do it from home. And,
Yeah,
I'm getting older. I've been in for 20 years. I did my service on the water. I'm done with that.
Not as
But
many
yeah,
waves in the studio.
but you bring up a good point. The life-saving service, it doesn't matter who that human being is. And think about our politics for a minute. When you think about, illegals, or, they demonize other human beings
Any way they can.
Right, depending on your race, your skin color,
The-
your national origin. When a
Yeah,
Coast
label
Guard
you
goes
and
out
make
and
you forget that you're human.
right, when a Coast Guard goes out and saves a person, they don't take the boat hook out and say, "Now, before I save you, are you in this country legally, or are you a Republican, or are you a?" No, they'll risk their life to,
And
as you
them
pointed out, to save a
here
criminal.
And
They'll risk their life to save a criminal.
I think
That's
it's
the
really
U.S.
cool.
Coast Guard.
Yeah. Props to you and props to the U.S. Coast Guard. I think of all the armed services, they're probably the coolest. I would so tonight we have some really special guests. We have Debra Lynne Katz and Michelle Freed, who are doing a new podcast called Psi Chicks. I think Psi Chicks, is that right? I think that's how they spell it. They'll tell us when they come on. But they're both renowned psychics, authors. Debra Lynne Katz is an author, a clairvoyant, the founder of the International School of Clairvoyance, with expertise in clairvoyance, remote viewing, and energy healing. She's authored several books on psychic development, and Debra's work empowers individuals to explore their intuitive abilities and deepen their spiritual understanding. In fact, when the name Debra Lynne Katz, when I heard that she was coming on, it really struck something in me. It's like, I think I might have read one of her books, or have we interviewed her before? Tyson?
Well, one of my favorite cartoons was Dr. Katz, and since she is Dr.
I don't know.
Katz,
I
feel like it's completely different though.
I think I must have read one of her books or something. And then we have Michelle Freed, who also does the booking for this show and has been so amazing for us, getting us these guests from fringe, UAP people, remote viewers, Templar Knights, people that watch the show. We can go on and on with the incredible people that she's got to helped us talk to. So we're so happy to have her on the show. This is fun. We've had her on the show once before, and we should have done this time because they're both professional remote viewers. If you didn't know that out there, if you're watching the show for the first time and you're one of these people that don't believe in psychic abilities or remote viewing is tested. In fact, there's like 115 psychic remote viewers working for the FBI, and the FBI tests them on all these incredible ways, and you have to be up to like the something percentile. I forget what it was on your
check out episode 68 for more
check
on
out
that.
episode 68.
Yes.
But this remote viewing is a real thing. This is not some hocus pocus stuff. This is really awesome. And when we had Michelle on last time, I went around. We should have done another experiment. We really should have, but I wasn't thinking. But last time I went around the city and I filmed a few things and looked at a few things, and we had a bunch of our guests and Michelle, I think, try to see if they could remote view where I was, what I was looking at, draw words. If you don't know what remote viewing is, you go into a place where you can connect with looking for missing people, tuning into somebody's frequency and seeing through their eyes. There's even like OBE remote viewers that can leave their body and go look at things at crime scenes, etc. But a lot of our guests that were trying remote viewing for the first time, fans of the show, did really excellent stuff. In fact, I think we have a little clip from the last time she was on. So let's show that real quick, and then we'll bring on Michelle Freed and Debra Lynne Katz. We got that much.
There's one more thing that I want to point out. Dave, can you pick up your drawing again? Yeah, zoom in on that top thing. I mean, I know you defined it as an earbud, but this is the last video that Manu had.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Okay, one more thing that I had to capture while I was here, just because it's so odd. If anyone out there draws anything even remotely like this, I'm going to be very impressed. City bus, and look at that. What is that? What is that? That is a statue of a spherical ball and a big sphere and another sphere inside the sphere. And it's just so strange that it's over here.
With like a triangle next to it. Hey, he almost drew that.
Yeah, he almost did.
That's spot on.
That's awesome.
He almost drew that spot on.
Yeah, he's got the ball in the center and he's got the two spheres going around it. That's pretty good, Dave. Yeah, and that's Dave Hildebrand, one of our guests, and also the guy that hosts the Trek Show for us on Wednesday nights, kicking ass remote viewing for his first time. So that was fun. So Michelle Freed also is a certified hypnotherapist, a remote viewer, and an instructor specializing in controlled remote viewing. BECRVG, the Butterfly Effect Center from a Remote Viewing Group. She has also co-produced the documentary Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot, appears in Ancient Aliens a couple times, I think, and with Humans with Superpowers, and serves as a producer for my good buddy, Mr. Jimmy Church, Fade to Black with Jimmy Church. And if you haven't checked out Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, you should. Righteous dude running all over the earth doing cool stuff on YouTube and radio. As founder of LITM Media Incorporated, she supports authors and podcast hosts with marketing and publicity, and she does it so well. Here are the Psi Chicks, Debra Lynne Katz and Michelle Freed. Welcome to the program. Hi, girls, ladies, women. How are you?
Thanks for having us here.
I should have asked for the proper pronouns since we're so woke here on Dangerous Thoughts.
I'm just glad you call me. So.
Okay, so I have a few questions for you guys. I guess first, just explain to me a little bit about oh, I've got this all mixed up. Yeah, explain to me a little bit about what the Butterfly Effect Center is for remote viewing or the group.
Yeah, so well, we both have so when Debra gets herself off mute.
I knew that was going to happen. See, I've got a little psychic ability.
1 minute.
There's a little on your thing there. There should be on the page. There's a little microphone. There you go.
There she is. Yay. Yeah. So we both teach our own versions of remote viewing. So mine is under the umbrella of Butterfly Effect Center, where I also do hypnosis and remote viewing. So that's all kind of that thing. And then Debra, you do.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm a little distracted because you look so much shorter than I do right now. So it's like, should I?
Oh, I don't know. Like, should I sit on a pillow?
Let's all do the shows like let's all go right here. Yeah, do the whole show like that.
Yeah, I'm in a remote view with my eye.
Yeah.
You'll see our wrinkles.
What wrinkles? We have no wrinkles.
That's true.
I have a double chin. It's terrible if you look at me from the side. Look at that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
Nice.
Got it from my grandpa. He used to have this amazing one. It hung down and kind of swung to the side.
Like this.
Yeah, you could like doing. It would like make a little sound like the country where you know. He lived to be 101, and so when it got way down there. It was this amazing thing, and he had these big old ears that he could wiggle. So when he wiggled his ears, his gullet would kind of. It was amazing. He was such a good guy.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I got off topic there for a second, but yeah. So what is the Butterfly Effect Center for Remote Viewing? Is that a group of you that remote view and work?
Yeah. So I teach a class, and all my students are part of this organization, and I get emails a lot to do work. So once they're trained, they can actually become viewers on what we call operational targets. So that means that people would be willing to pay us, or sometimes we do true crime cases, and We've even helped a professor in a university who was studying the antiquities and had a gap in his research and wanted our remote viewers to help him get some information about this area that he was stuck in. So remote viewing not only used in world projects, but we also do it to kind of connect to your higher self. And and we're both on board with that, right?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if I know you two are, but I'm certainly about being a light being on this planet. In fact, I do have a question that goes into that, but we'll get there. So, do both of you work for any alphabet agencies or police, or have either of you ever done any work for like missing persons cases or anything like that
Well, if we told you, we'd have to kill you. So
for the
better
organization?
not really talk
Don't
about
tell us. You need to-
Next question.
One of them, yeah.
it. No, well, we've worked for like an array of different, sometimes it's like directly with like a police, or sometimes it's with project managers where they're tied into police or FBI or agency like that. Just a whole range of different projects. I'd say with both of us, we're not like regularly working for one agency. It's just kind of based on project to project, whether someone comes directly to one of us. Sometimes, we work separately, but then if I want to bring a viewer or a team of viewers on, I might, if I need extra ones, I'll call Michelle and say, hey, do you want to do a session, or do your students want to do a session? And, depending on how many people we need. And, this is what's cool with the whole remote viewing community and people that are really into this, is we call on each other, to work together. From even, we if we're not sure like what's the best way to task a viewer, where there's so much involved with setting up projects, like whether you're going to have your secret undisclosed tasking because you want the viewers to work blind. A lot of times viewers don't even know like what the case is about. They just get a target number. So there's like all these decisions that we have to make, like what do we, write down, what's our intention for the viewers, and then how much do we tell them? There's implications if you tell viewers information like, it's a missing person, versus if you don't tell them. There's pros and cons. So there's a lot to even just getting a project started. And it's really nice that we can consult with each other, or lots of different, longtime viewers we can check in with and, see what they think is the best way to proceed. So we really work together. Remote viewing is very much a team approach.
Yeah, I think so. So Preska just says, so freelance psychics. Yeah, and then employed psychics and freelance psychics as well. I think you go to butterflyeffectcenter.com if you wanted to reach out to you, Michelle, and your group.
Yeah.
And okay, so and then Debra has founded the International School for Clairvoyance, and you can get a hold of her. Can I give out your email?
Sure.
At www.Debra Lynne Katz. Katz with a K and a Z, and Debra, DebraLynne Katz.com at the International School for Clairvoyance. Okay, so first, share with me one of the coolest projects, stories, one by one, that you guys have done falling into remote viewing.
Well, when we worked on the Idaho murder case, that terrible case where several university
Moscow, Idaho.
students were.
Oh, I know that case. I lived in Pullman when I was a kid.
Oh,
and
wow.
so like I wasn't there, I don't think, when it happened, but I saw the documentary on that case. So cool. Yeah, keep going.
And it was a law student too, right? The one that was suspected of doing it.
He wasn't a law student. He was a criminal justice student.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He was like really, and had been like in that, studying that field at least. Brian Kohlberger, who I believe he hasn't been convicted yet, but he's still undergoing different trials. And Yeah, and that was we have a good friend who's the project manager for a long time group that we've been working with. There's like a core of like 6 viewers, and we do all sorts of projects. And so her name's Nancy Smith. She was living in Idaho, and she knew like one of the main detectives in the area. And so she got together and said, you know, I have a good team of viewers who could help. So we did several sessions, turned them in, and we had really good correspondence. Like, you know, with a lot of these cases, they don't like really tell you, you know, which there's so many people that are helping with the cases, so we don't really know if our data got sent over to the, you know, investigators who really needed it or not. All we could say is that, you know, he told her that he would, you know, try to take the information and get it to the people that mattered.
So
and we had some really good correspondence too.
tell me about the case.
Yeah,
I
well,
think there's plenty of people that maybe don't know about this, but it's a famous case.
Yeah, this just happened like maybe now it's been like a year and a half or so, but it was a really tragic case. Like these students were living in I think it was right off the campus housing, and in like a 3-level house. And one night, like around 2 a.m. or so, someone came in and killed 2 of the girls upstairs, and then a couple, a boy and girl downstairs. And then there was one woman who survived. Like she heard something going on, but she didn't know what it was. And
she slept through most of it, right?
Yeah.
Was she in the house?
Yeah, she said that she opened up her door when she heard some noises, and she like saw someone in the hall and then just closed the door. And, you know, it's like a bunch of students living together, and, you know, it was a party house. So there's always people coming in and out. So it was really tragic because and the thing was that 2 of the girls, they were all like gorgeous, like freshmen, sophomore students, and 2 of them were influencers. So on TikTok, they had really big followings, and they think that the killer was on TikTok, like, you know, had been stalking them for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, we had some pretty good hits, and I don't know what all of the other viewers had, but I know my sister, I have a twin sister, Amy, and she came up with the name Brian as the killer. And it turned out that, you know, the suspect is the main suspect who, I mean, it's got to be him. You know, there's so much evidence against him, but his name is Brian Kohlberger. And,
Wow.
and then I had written down that the suspect's father's name was Michael, and it turns out his name is Michael. So that was cool.
Yeah.
I do want to point out for legality, everybody is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Please continue.
Yeah.
We must say that.
Yeah. Also, so can you share how you went about approaching the remote viewing for this particular case?
Well, for this one, I usually these days use a mixed methods approach. So, because I've studied so many different modalities over the years. So one was, you could call it extended remote viewing, or just basically lying down when I wake up, like taking advantage of that twilight theta brainwave state, and then just asking myself to get impressions while I'm lying there. And then I'll type on my phone in my notes what I'm getting. Also asking myself to have some dreams that will give me information. And then also, like on one day I did a controlled remote viewing session, which is totally different. You know, sit down and with a piece of paper, you go through very structured methodology. And that's the methodology that Ingo Swann in the late early 1980s developed controlled remote viewing methodology. So did
What
one.
was his name or her name?
Ingo Swann.
Ingo?
Yes.
And this is where remote viewing started, or was this him picking it up?
Yeah, so like like I call Ingo Swann and Russell Targ and Hal Puthoff were like the forefathers of the military style of remote viewing. But in general, remote viewing itself probably started when the humans came. So that
Yeah.
kind of idea of remote viewing, but that
as a military, as a government, as a 1980.
Well, the programs ran from the early 1970s through the mid 1990s, and Ingo started off both as a research subject and consultant, and then he was part of the program for good portion of it, like 15 years. But he was like contracted to be the trainer and develop training. So he's really, and he coined the term along with a couple other parapsychologists. Janet Mitchell and Carl Oasis, they came up with the term remote viewing. And so, when you have people on your show who are talking about remote viewing, a lot of times they're referring back to the government programs, and a lot of it stems back to Ingo's trainings and other people that were involved. And so his structured methodology is you sit there with paper and you draw and you go through these different steps, and that's very different than if you're just lying down and closing your eyes. So I like to do a bunch of different methods to see what I get and to cross check each other if it's an important case, depending on how much time I have. And the thing that was fun for me that started to just more recently emerge is when I'm doing a session and I'm trying to get a description of someone, I'll automatically at some point see like a famous person, like an actor or so. And so I saw an image of an actor, and I'm forgetting his name. He was the guy in Spider-Man who played the friend of Spider-Man in the first movie.
James Franco?
Yes.
James Franco, yes.
So
old friend of mine, actually. That's funny.
I had this image of James Franco in my mind, and so I didn't think I could draw it. So it was like James Franco wearing like a flannel shirt and like kind of circles under his eyes. So I looked for the closest picture I could find, and then I took that picture and I put it in my session. And then when they got this Brian Kohlberger suspect, I took his picture and put it next to the picture of James Franco, and they look a lot alike. So to me, that's fun, to like get pictures of actors that look like perpetrators, and
I'm sure they'll love it.
Like I'm sure James Franco would appreciate that.
James Franco's in enough trouble already, but
He should be. He's a sweetheart.
I know. I had such a crush on him. He was.
Here I go defending people that are blackballed again, but still, he taught a class on intimacy in front of the camera. What did they expect? Anyway.
Sometimes the mood just hits. Yeah, I worked on this case too, and
yeah, that was my question. Okay.
So what was kind of cool is when you're not supposed to be remote viewing the other people in the project, and after all the years that we work, we're very careful not to do that. So in our group, because we've worked together 10 plus years, I think. So we know not to do that. So when we get data that is aligned, it's really amazing. So I got a person in a flannel shirt and in some foresty area with a knife. And I got an impression, I don't know who else, I'm not sure if I was alone, but that there were two people involved. And you did? Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting.
Come out. Like no one said that it has not come out that there's two people, but I saw someone watching.
Really?
Yeah. So I feel like there was somebody else in the house.
Well, it's pretty amazing that 4 people were killed, and you feel like there was somebody watching outside.
Like in the doorway,
wow.
Yeah, I didn't think that he actually, did the stabbing, but he was there. And I don't know, Michelle, that's really interesting because, yeah, no, like, you know, it hasn't been confirmed, but just that we both got that.
But when it
Yeah.
comes to murders, though, they say stabbing is one of the more intimate kinds of murder, right? Like a bullet, you do from a distance. You don't really have to see your victim. You can shoot from 100 feet away.
Well-
Stabbing is so up close and personal, and it's such a visceral kind of
Well,
thing.
it's my favorite
mean,
way to kill people.
I mean, there has to be some psychosis that goes along with that type of murder, right?
Like if I'm gonna use a gun, I want to be right up and close too, so to get that stabbing feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just not the same if you're too far away.
No, I want that gun right up on him, like right pressed
I've
against him.
slapped the shit out of a few people, but I don't think I've ever stabbed anybody to death.
But
Okay.
I got a sense that like he did not expect it to be what it felt like, you know, when he was actually killing them. Like during my session, I felt like it was way messier, you know, it was like just more physically exhausting than he had expected. I don't know. Michelle, did you tune into like what it was like for him?
No. I just was kind of focused on the murder weapon because we did this session way before we knew anything. So our sessions were before they, it was like right after it happened, like right after. So, so the fact that I did get a knife, and then there were these two people. I didn't see someone observing or watching. I kind of got the impression that they were kind of working together. I'm not clear on if the other one one killed and one didn't kill, or maybe they were planning it together, but there was something with them, you know, in my mind's eye, I can still remember the kind of picture I saw, like by a tree and a truck and talking about this knife and panicking. So there was like a little chaos with it and stuff like that. So that's pretty much.
Did it seem like these two were together? You said a wooded area by a truck?
Yeah, they had like a old broken down kind of rust out like pickup truck. Is that what it's called when it doesn't have the back?
Yeah.
And they were wearing a flannel shirt. And they just looked just like just too, you know, they were not calm. Definitely they were panicked. And there was a knife. So
all right. Well, did any of you see the inside of the house? Did you get a look at?
We didn't get to go there.
No, I just mean from a remote perspective.
Psychically.
Did you see the crime scene?
Field trip.
Yeah.
I know I wanted to go out there and, you know, try to drive around the neighborhood and stuff, but
didn't they knock down the house, or are they going to, or did they?
Yeah, I'm not
I heard
sure.
something. Yeah,
they should. No one should live in there after that. Yeah.
Wild. Okay, so when you remote view, if you're gonna like look for missing persons, or like, okay, so in this instance you're looking for a murderer, so you're trying to tune into what they look like. Are you tuning into their frequency in any way, shape, or form? Are you tuning into their soul? Are you tuning into putting yourself? Is the remote view like explain the methodology as far as getting yourself ready to do a remote viewing session, the Ingo style?
Well, you know what? There's so many different ways to go after the information. So, you know, again, depending on how much you know up front, like we knew with this one that some people had been, we did know, or at least I knew. I don't know. I don't remember what the other viewers knew, but I knew that people had been killed in a house. So I knew that. So naturally, I was curious to know, well, who did it? What happened? How can we find the person? So each of those are different questions that you might go after in different ways. You know, so I like to, and this is very common for a lot of viewers, you know, we like to imagine that we're putting ourselves in this scenario next to the say the person we want to describe. So we're like kind of time traveling back to what happened, you know, standing, like we could say, okay, right when it happened. We can stand next to the victim or next to the perpetrator and try to look at them from different perspectives. We can try to merge with them, look through their eyes. What were they seeing, you know, feel their feelings. And we can do that like by imagining that we're merging with them, or we could do it like draw them on a piece of paper, like just an outline of a figure, and then touch the figure in different places. And, you know, you could touch them on the head. What were they thinking? Touch them on the heart. What or are they feeling? So you can go after it like on the paper or send yourself over there. But then if you want to know, like, where are they now, or where are they going to be found? Because maybe, you know, where the perpetrator is going to be found, you know, that might be most helpful to police right now, you know, and
On
then
that, I've got a question on that very thing. Okay, so let's say you catch the guy, right? The guy goes to court, and there's something called evidentiary. You've got to share the evidence with the defense, and the defense gets to prepare, you know, their defense for this. I mean, if law enforcement uses psychics, and because of things that you've seen, police were able to find things, that has to be in evidence, right? That has to be. How did you know to go look here? How did you know to go? I mean, is that something the defense could ever poke holes in and say, Your Honor, psychics, really? You're gonna try to convict my client? Like, how does that work when it comes to the now we're in the courtroom phase, right? I mean, does that ever come up? How does that work?
yeah.
So can I just, I wanted to, and then Deb, you can take it. Also, one of the other things why we have a project manager is because that person will they will consider what we call it the secret question, or what are we looking for? Sometimes we want to describe the subject. Sometimes we want to find the location of a missing person. Sometimes we want to know what is a murder weapon. So that can happen into 3 separate sessions. And if the viewer has no clue what they're looking for, and all of a sudden they say, describe the murder weapon, and then they start describing a knife and details about the knife and things like that, and they understand that the viewer had no clue what the question was, that would be extremely interesting for evidence and things like that.
Yeah, and to answer your question, Tyson, it is really challenging, you know, and this isn't just for law enforcement. You know, if someone doesn't believe in this stuff and then receives information and it doesn't fit into their worldview, you know, they're going to be freaked out. They're not going to believe it. It's really tricky. I think this probably happens a lot to law enforcement. You know, they just get a hunch about something themselves and, you know, end up somewhere, and people might be like, how did you ever find this? But they, you know, they'd probably either have to be honest or they'd have to lie about it. But, you know, I had this student, this police detective, former police detective. He was working on the Innocence Project, which I don't know if you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
of course.
Yeah. So he and a couple other guys on the project, detectives, they were sure that these 2 guys were innocent. I forget their names. It was like a famous case going way back, and they had been in jail for a long time. And they wanted me to like work on the case, and they didn't like what I came up with because I really felt like they were guilty, like in my session. But the police detective told me the story as to like why he like became open to working with psychics. And he said before he ever believed in this, he was working on a case where he was looking for a guy and he had no leads, no clues. He was getting really frustrated and he couldn't sleep one night. And so he was like, I'm just going to go for a drive, quiet my mind, calm down. And so he got in his car and he just started driving. He didn't know where he was driving, where he was going. He drove for almost like an hour. And then he was like, this is ridiculous. I'm getting lost. I need to turn around. he turns around in a motel parking lot. And as he's turning around, he like, something made him look up on the second floor, and standing on the balcony outside the motel was the guy he was looking for right there. And he had driven an hour and had no reason to believe that this person was there. Now you can imagine like how freaked out he was. You know, he was so freaked out. He said like, you know, he could barely like, you know, handle himself at that point. And it took him like months to like, he just thought he had entered some alternate reality. So
Yeah, no leads. I don't know how. I don't know where this guy's at. I don't know how I'm gonna find him. And he drove to him.
And he drove right there. And that's like a psychic ability that I think oftentimes isn't really talked about, but I call, like, it took me a while too, because you know, it's not like you hear a message, and it's not like you have a vision. Your body has this innate intelligence, and you know, you could call it like somatic awareness, or just like body intelligence. Just you're just compelled to go do something. And you know that my sister, for this Idaho murder case, she came up with the name Brian. And again, the main suspect is now, his name is Brian. The way she came up with it is she also does like intuitive readings with people. And she told me that she was on the phone, like doing a reading for a client. And she kept calling the client's boyfriend Brian. And the client was like, I already told you his name like 10 times. Why do you keep calling him Brian? And she had been working on this case with us. And so she called me up and she's like, you know, I keep calling everybody Brian. And so that's why I'm going to say that I think the killer's name is Brian. And it turned out to be Brian. So that's another example. Like, that's where your body is just doing something you don't mean for it to do that. And I really think that's what so many times saves our lives. You know, you're driving on the street and suddenly you have an urge to get out of a lane. That happened to me once. I was like,
Yeah.
I gotta move into this next lane, and it made no sense because there was more traffic in the lane I moved into. And the second I moved into it, a car moved into the spot I vacated, and a car crashed into them. So I would have been rear-ended really bad if I hadn't just moved in. And you know,
Right.
how is it that we're like even alive right now? You know, life is so dangerous, and yet we survive.
I
right?
agree, and we don't believe in coincidences on this show. And let me tell you, think of the police story you just said. Drove an hour. Look at all the things that had to line up. He had to be sleepless, right? He got into his private, I'm assuming not a marked car, but his private car. Went for a drive. And the suspect, I mean, most people don't hang out on the balcony of their hotel room. They may step out to have a cigarette, or may step out and, you know, take a breath of fresh air for a few minutes, and then you go back in the hotel room. What are the odds that not only at the time that he was sleepless, he got in the car, he drove to a place he knew not where he was going, ended up being there, and at that very moment that he looked up, for the few minutes that the suspect was at that hotel, just happened to step out on the balcony. Look at all the things that had to line up for that to happen. And then the suspect, I assume, didn't recognize the police's personal vehicle, so it had no reason to run or do anything, so that the officer could call for backup. But I mean, just all those things that had to line up. I believe, you know, once in a while, in a coincidence here or there, but when all those things line up, that's just too many coincidences all at once, right?
I think you should know that Debra and we grew up together. So we've gotten in a few little trouble, maybe, sort of, kind of.
Yeah, we've known each other since I was 15, she was 16, and yeah, that long.
You notice how she has to make clear that I was 16? I'm like older than her. Did you know that little thing right there?
So you could tell that. You didn't have to share that. It's quite obvious.
So she was teaching a class on psychic development in Dallas, and we always get lost. And like when I first got my driver's license, and that was the day where everyone can sit in the front seat. Do you remember that? When everyone can sit in the front seat.
With no seatbelts.
No
the bench seat. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're driving, and I remember my dad said, he always said to me, Michelle, you live north. Always remember you live north. She knows where I go. Always remember you live north. And I'm like, okay, all right. I put it in my brain. I burned it there for all time because he knew, like when he gave me directions, he had to turn the paper over and write them home because I wouldn't be able to figure it out back home. So we're driving, and Amy and Debbie, the twins, were with me, and they're like, you know, we've been driving for a very long time. And I'm like, well, my dad said we live north. And I keep driving north, and we live in Illinois. So we're like heading for Wisconsin. I'm like, well, my dad said, then I blew a stop sign, and woo, the cop comes, and, you know, whatever. So we are always getting lost, right? So we're at her workshop on psychic development in Dallas. And again, we're panicking because we had to be there at a certain time. And one of us, I'm not saying who, is always late. So we're like going. And the GPS wasn't working. And so Debra stops in her seat and she goes, okay, let's just allow our body to lead us to where we need to be. And this is my point, is that you can actually make this happen. It doesn't have to be spontaneous. It's that she set an intention that we're going to, and we did it, of course, we're always laughing. So we did it with a fun energy, and we're like, you know, whatever. And she just kept driving. I go, turn right here, left here. Next thing we know, we look up and the hotel was like right in front of us. And it was like, so it's something that we can all do. You have to get to a point where you trust. And I mean, if you think about how many times that you get an intuition, like Manu, before we started the show, you brought up how you spontaneously had information. And a lot of times we'll dismiss it. We'll just, that's stupid, or nah.
I'll tell you, I don't consider myself psychic. I do consider myself intuitive, but there is one way that I am constantly psychic. Like this happens at least 2-3 times a month. And I can't explain it. And it must be a psychic ability. My phone will ring. And there's a certain amount of people I talk to all the time. Everybody's got their circle of empathy that they talk to all of the time. Then there's those people that might call once every couple of years, or that you might not talk to at all. And a lot of times my phone will ring and I'll go, that's Matt. I haven't talked to Matt in 3 years, but my body knows that Matt's calling. Does that not happen to you guys too? Have you never just been like, oh, that's Jared? And before you even pick up the phone or look at your phone, you know who it is, and it is that person. And it's not your close circle. It's somebody that doesn't call you very often. That happens to me a lot.
Yeah, I have two things along those lines. One is like my body will feel something right that corresponds, you know, so like if someone's mad at me, I'll have this shooting pain through my head and then pick up the phone and they'll be yelling at me, you know, or if they're like crying, I'll like just suddenly like want to start bawling and, you know, feel all this pressure in my chest, and then the phone rings, or anxiety. And someone, a lot of times it's like my sister, like she's like, oh, I'm so anxious. So, you know, and I was feeling fine before that. So, you know, that's like being clairsentient or empathic, which so many people have. But I have it so many times where I call someone and they're like, oh my God, you know, I was just thinking about you. And like that, basically almost every time I call someone, that's what they say. Michelle and I have this stuff all the time happen as well. But Michelle and I have been like really super telepathic with each other, I think, because we've known each other for so long. And when we get on the phone, like, our relatives get like, whoever lives with us gets annoyed because they're like, really, you're talking to Michelle again, you're talking to Debra again, but we'll like talk for hours. So like we've had it, like one morning I woke up and I heard, like, I didn't even know it was possible to hear this telepathically, where like it was like a radio playing in my ear, and I heard Michelle's voice and her daughter, and this was years ago, they're talking about their carpool plans, and they're like, it was messed up or something. And it was just like this mundane conversation, but I heard it as if it was like the voices couldn't have been clearer or louder. So I called Michelle, and Michelle.
Yeah, we were literally, when she called, we were in the car and we were doing carpool, but we were actually talking about giving her ideas of what kind of lunch to bring to school. That's how mundane it was. Yeah.
I had an uncle that was psychic. He knew exactly when he was going to die.
Yeah, I actually had an aunt who knew exactly when she was going to die. She actually told the entire family.
I had an uncle who knew exactly when he was going to die, but the warden told him. So I don't know that.
Oh, well, that's not fair. But no, I had an aunt that actually literally told everyone in the house, the sisters, the brothers, my grandpa, my grandma. She said she was going to die that night, and she was going to go to sleep, and she wasn't going to wake up. And everyone was like, "Yeah, whatever," and she did.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it was just pretty wild stuff. And my mom, unfortunately, feels like she's not long for this earth at the moment either. She's like, I think it's happening pretty soon. And then she got this weird thing attacking her body, and she's going to get a biopsy Wednesday. But she's not scared of death. I think death is probably one of the most fantastic things that happens to us in this life. I think beyond here is probably somewhere pretty cool. So as far as you guys and your psychic abilities and your believing in more than the mundane, what do you think this reality that we live in is in a general sense?
We're living in a simulation.
Do you think? Really?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I
had an experience where when I worked with Art Bell, they used to send us all this stuff because they were trying to promote. And it was before like VR, virtual reality, VR was popular. So they sent like these special glasses and then a little cell phone and a headset. And they were trying to promote a VR paranormal show that they would air on TV. So it's way before their time because this was a long time ago. And I put the thing on, and you turn around. If anyone uses virtual reality, everywhere you look is your real. Everything's real. So I look over here, and then of course they're playing scary, creepy music. And I'm looking over here, and there's a rocking chair, and all this stuff. Well, somehow I sensed one of my kids walk into the room with my body. I just knew that the energy shifted, but as hard as I tried to see, I couldn't, because this was my real. So it's like I couldn't look over it. I couldn't look under it or around it. This was real. So all of a sudden I had this epiphany, like, that's what it is. We only see this. We can't, and it's right with us, and maybe some of these spirits or things or whatever, aliens or interdimensional beings or whatever, kind of peek in, and then we kind of see shadows or things of it. So yeah, I think that's
something we've asked about on the. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, that's what we've talked about on the show is how does anybody know the difference between a ghost, an advanced alien, a deity, all
angel,
these things that kind of cross the veil between our perceived reality and what we think we see a ghost. But is it a ghost? Is it an angel? Is it a deity? Is it an alien? Is it or are we in the Matrix? Is it a glitch? Is it what was that called? Deja vu.
Yeah, the deja vu cat in the Matrix. Yeah. Are we plugged in somewhere? There was an incredible thing we shared on the show about this guy's NDE, and basically, long story short, he died. And when he died, he woke up in this room, and there were all these little blue hooded figures around him in like a hospital room, and they were all looking at him, and they said, "So, what was it like?" And he looked at these blue hooded figures, and he was confused, and they all started laughing at him. and they were saying things like, he doesn't remember who he is yet. He doesn't remember us. And they were giggling. And then this like tall Jesus like figure, not like, you know, but a tall, gray bearded, long haired kind of dude came in, doctor type, came into the room and told the guy, you know, hey, tell us a little bit about your experience. And he started to tell him, and he was really happy to be dead and in this place. And so he was like, oh, this is my life review. I get it. Let me, so I had a job. I was married to this woman, and I fought fires. And then he started to give a report, and then they all started laughing again. And the Jesus, or the tall doctor-like character, just basically went, you're not done, man. We just wanted to check in with you. And he was like, no, don't send me back. Don't send me back to that place. Like I kicked the bucket. Like I want to go forward. And he's like, no, you're not finished. And boom, he was back in his body. And on the way to that, there was like this floating through space, and what he called a cosmic orgasm. He felt very just like at peace, full of love, like something had him, was carrying him, watching after him. But then this weird experience in this room with these other beings that were like, hey, John, you don't remember us? Like, I think death is going to be much more like that. Like being, you know, Tyson was raised Christian. I think it could very well be that we have the power in this simulation, this what I would call a spiritual simulation, to actually affect what might be next with our light being, or with our soul, for lack of a better word. Maybe some people do go to heaven and do see the Christ consciousness and the Jesus thing, and maybe others. But I tend to think that the other side of whatever reality, whatever this is, being in these avatars we call human bodies, I tend to think it's probably much more science fiction and much more intricate and quantum, just so many different possibilities for each one of us, that I can
tell you there are no cosmic orgasms in Christianity.
No, it's so boring. That's why I don't do
a lot of right-handed ones, but no cosmic orgasms.
But like when I died, I felt I saw I either met God or I met my spirit, my soul, and either way, I did feel this complete love and complete patience for my imperfections, and it was like, don't worry, you die now, you're just coming back. And this guy felt the same thing, just like, you know, he was dead, but it was okay, and there was more to come.
I think
people were calling for the cat, so there's the cat.
Debra, what do you think? Spiritual simulation? What's going on here?
Definitely. And, you know, I think when we die, there are so many different realms and so many different things, and it's individualized and it changes, you know, just like in our lives. I mean, how many different places do we sometimes go throughout a single day, right? You're in the city, then you're in a rural area, you're inside, you're outside, there's different people, there's animals, there's, you know, there's bugs, there's like this whole array. And I think it's even more diverse when, you know, we get out there in all different states of consciousness. And one of the values of like developing your psychic abilities and getting control of your mind. So even if it's, you know, beyond, not even yet using your intuition, but even just like having mind control, like of your own mind, being able to meditate, being able to concentrate, focus, and do manifesting work. I think that all prepares you for when you die, because, you know, one, if you know that your consciousness is going to exist, and then, you know, wherever you end up, you don't have to stay there. Like, imagine if you ended up like in a grocery store and you thought, oh, this is heaven, or this is hell, and this is where I'm going to be forever. Maybe you don't know that there's an exit and you could go somewhere else. But if you know there is somewhere else, you can imagine it, you know, you could think of somebody and bam, you're with that person. You just need to visualize them, send your intention there, you know. So it's like, how do you move around? like we're learning when we remote view or do out of body work or lucid dreaming, like we're all training ourselves so that we'll be flexible and we're not stuck in any one place.
That's cool. So you're practicing for the afterlife or practicing for death.
I
My
have a real
mom
question, and
actually takes the time to practice dying. She does a couple times a week. She'll go outside, she'll meditate, and she'll practice letting go of everything on this earth. Because I think one of the hardest things in death must be that, oh, I'm gonna miss blankety blank. I'm not gonna have my car. I'm not gonna have my wife. I'm not gonna have my kid. I'm not gonna letting go of everything that is what we are is probably the hardest part of dying. And so she just practices letting all of it go.
Who did you say does that?
My mom.
Oh, your mom.
His mom does.
Yeah.
I have
I
a
practiced
question.
dying today. I'm like, cool, man. I should do more of that.
We're at the top of the hour, and before we bring on several guests that want to talk to you, I do have one last question, and this is so important to me. And I mean this seriously. I'm not joking or anything. Do you think that our loved ones, like this little one right here, when they pass away, do they go somewhere too? Just like will I see her again when I pass away?
Well, they show up so often when, doing different kinds of sessions for people, whether clairvoyant, mediumship, remote viewing, animals show up in so many different forms. And so I think it's just the same as people. Like, yes, they're, and some seem very present and some like almost physically manifest. Others, they seem like they're far away and you can't reach them. And that's how people are too, that like not everybody is, earthbound, or not everyone is like really present at any given time. And I think it sometimes changes too. Like, sometimes a person's really present for a while, then they go away and then they come back, and same thing with animals. And it can be really hard for people, to be like, wow, I just, I believe in spirits, but I don't feel my loved one around me right now, or I'm not getting that communication. Like, I hear from people who say that a lot of times. And then, a few years later, they get back in touch and they're like, yeah, finally, I just felt a presence, and, here my, dog was, or
right now I'm living in my wife's grandmother's house, and I got to meet her twice during life. While she was alive. And a lot of times she won't be there. I won't feel her. I won't see her. I won't get anything. But every once in a while she checks in. I'll be walking up the stairs and I'll just feel her behind me, or I'll be in the kitchen. She messes with our lights all the time. She absolutely messes with our lights. And one time I was actually laying in bed about 2 a.m. I woke up and I looked in the bathroom mirror and I could see her just for a second. Like we said backstage, for a second I could see her in the bathroom mirror looking at me. And I got this, I was like kind of half awake, so I was like, what's that? Who's the lady in the bathroom, right? And as soon I got the feeling that she caught I had caught her. And she was like, oh, and she kind of backed up into the mirror. Wow. And just took, and I was like, oh wow. And I was laying with my wife, but she was asleep. And so I was like, your grandma just was watching us sleep, but she won't be there all the time.
Yeah.
And why would she? What a boring,
just make sure you tie a little scarf on the door so she knows when to come and when not.
Can I show you guys something? Can I show you guys something really cool?
Yeah, please.
So my stepfather just died last week. And I was teaching a mediumship class, and so I asked my students to tune in, and all I told them was he was my stepfather, my mother's husband, and his name was Dale, and he totally showed up, and like they were describing him in such great detail, just how he was. And one of my students, I've been teaching them like how to draw and sketch what they're seeing, but some are better artists than others. So one of them, afterwards, before I like told her like his full name or what he looked like, she sent me a sketch, and I said, this looks like him, but just put some color in it. And she did. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this because I have a picture. I don't know. Let's see if I hold the like.
There we go.
You could
That's
see.
him?
So that's
Oh.
a picture of him and a picture of her sketch.
Oh
Can you
my
make it a
God,
little
it's
bigger?
spot on.
Can you make it a little bigger?
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
I know.
Like, it's spot on.
I know. I wasn't sure if I should show my mother at first because I thought she'd freak.
The picture's in
and
the
she
lower
did.
left corner, right?
Yeah. So
I mean, the drawing.
the drawing, and let me see if I can turn my shoot. Now it's oh, here we go.
There we go.
Oh my
God.
God.
That is so cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and he had in the picture he's not wearing like a red flannel shirt, but I went through his closet and he's got like 10 flannel shirts, and they saw
he's got a red hat on too.
Yeah. And
Oh
then
my God, the mouth is perfect. The nose,
Yeah, the mouth, the teeth.
oh my God.
And then I'm still here at my mother's house, and I woke up the other morning and I heard a voice, and it said, "I'm with Miriam," like so loud. And I'm like, "Miriam, who's Miriam?" And I went downstairs and I'm like, "Mom, who's Miriam?" And she was like, "Oh, that was like my dear friend who like I loved her, and she was like really spiritual, and she believed in all this stuff, and I think about her all the time." So I don't know for sure because I didn't hear it as his voice, but it was like, so clear. So I think he's around for sure because he showed up to the students, and they felt like, that they've been doing really well, but they were like, he was so present, like more so than others. And they think maybe because I'm in his house right now, or like they said he knew that, he was always interested in this stuff, but didn't talk about it with anyone except for me. So he knows I can hear him. But
do either of you do psychic readings with people? Can you do it through a computer?
Oh yeah. So
like, could you do a psychic reading on me right now? Could you get a vibe off of like, or would it?
No, I mean, I could, but I would like need to tune in for a couple minutes, and then, then I'd start to like the process I use, which I've been doing readings like way before I started in remote viewing, and Michelle too, she started to do them as well. But I've been doing them for like 28 years, and then I've been doing remote viewing for like 12 years. But so yeah, I could, but then, it like changes. Then we get into like, serious issues of your life and stuff. And it's kind of,
dangerous thoughts. It's what we like to do.
Yeah. So
another show.
Debra's, I mean, she takes clients, but her main thing is to teach other people to do it. So she teaches classes in psychic development, and
Catie, do we have all the information if people want to? Is it in the description below? All their info if they want to take classes? Yeah, okay. It's in the. If anyone's watching and wants to work with Debra Lynne Katz or Michelle Fried, go into the description below and you'll see all the places you can go to contact them, hire them, do classes, etc. All that stuff.
And watch our show, Psi Chicks.
And watch Psi Chicks on YouTube.
That's also in the description below.
That's also in the description below. Yeah, they have a podcast that they just started. So check in and
we can't stop
be
laughing.
One of the first, be one of the first people to follow their show as it gets bigger and bigger.
I need to buy stock in diapers because I keep laughing so hard.
Laugh so hard you pee. That happens to me now when I'm old too.
I know. It's hard.
Yeah, I don't have an excuse. I've been peeing like that forever.
We could have the Psi Chicks diapers.
Yeah, it's merch.
Well, we're all like 89% water, right? So like we all leak a little every now and again.
So I'm leaking blood at the moment, but yeah.
Well, yeah, your cat was eating you, I noticed.
He was eating me on the air.
Well, that's the thing. When you pass, you will actually be devoured by your cats.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
Yeah, and your energy will go into them, and then they will be you, and you will be able to.
I have caught the cat. Like I've woken up and caught the cat stealing my breath. I know that she's going to do it. I know she's doing it.
Yeah, they are. The Egyptians thought they were the underworld. You know, they were the spirits of the underworld.
Yeah.
Hey,
creepy.
that's the reason I've never liked pussy. All right. I'm joking, completely joking. We have a lot of callers actually lined up.
Yeah, all
I
right,
think
all right,
we're up
cool.
to
So let's take some
5 or 6.
Yeah, let's take some if you guys have time, if that's all right. Do you? You good? Yes.
Oh yeah.
All
we
right,
have a lot.
let's take a few questions from the audience. Who do we have first?
And Cassie, who do we have first? The one next to you, right?
Up first, we have Travis.
Oh,
Travis.
What's up?
What's up? How you doing, MC?
I'm good. How about yourself?
All righty, Rooney.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
okay.
no, I'm having a really shitty week, to tell you the truth. My
Eh,
mom's dying. I'm financial troubles, all sorts of. I think I might have butt cancer. You know, lots of stuff going on.
yeah, yeah, boy, oh boy. You know, it's probably one of those glitches in the matrix, you know, for your butt cancer. But no. But my question is for
I
your
mean,
two
look at me
guests.
right now. I look gray. I feel like I'm going. I don't know. I've always felt like I'm gonna die young, but I'm not. I mean,
we will inject you with some
I had that
Nitro.
chance 20 years ago, but you know, relatively young. Go ahead, Travis. Sorry.
Real quick. First thing first. Have you guys ever worked with any of the Fortune 500 companies? That's my first question. Or anything in the Fortune 500 companies, you know, that deals with finances and stuff. I know y'all, everybody talking about all this but I'm curious to know about finances and, you know, what most likely do y'all have with the future of, like, you know, companies, not saying spying on each other, but just, you know, trying to get a competitive edge on one another. And second of all, my second question for both of you, have you guys ever met Joseph McMoneagle? And have you ever heard of Project Stargate and Pat Price? I know y'all mentioned Ingo Swann, but Pat Price,
He's
Project
before our
Stargate.
time. We're too young to know Pat Price.
Pat Price he died like in the early
1975.
Yeah. But and you know, we were born like 68, 69. But Joe McMoneagle, I actually almost killed him. I almost killed him. We were having a party after a conference. We had a suite at the Green Valley Ranch in Las Vegas, and he
for our viewers who don't know, who's Joe McMoneagle?
He's considered he was the longest running military remote viewer. So he worked in the military program at Fort Meade for close to 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
He won the Legion of Honor for his service there. And he's often considered one of the best remote viewers because he's found like dozens of people, like you know, way in other countries, like just insane cases, extremely talented. So I invited him to our party. Michelle, I'm pretty sure you were at that one.
Yeah.
And, I was making him whiskey drinks. Like glasses of whiskey.
You're always liquoring them up. That's
Well, I didn't know you were supposed to mix water with it. And I was like giving him these huge glasses, and he had like 4 or 5. And I mean, he was having the best time just, you know, telling stories and nonstop. And then I found out that you're supposed to add water to the whiskey. So anyway, I really thought that he was just going to keel over at that moment, but he didn't. He's still alive. So
you got him to like falling on your face drunk.
Well, to talk, talk.
handled his liquor quite well. Like he just got more and more talkative, and he was.
That's the key.
But I thought you said you almost killed him. How did you almost kill him?
Well, I mean, like at some point, like at what point do you just keel over after like fed him a whole bottle of whiskey, and he didn't even really notice. But at one point I was like, oh my God, I didn't know I was, because I don't drink whiskey. So
yeah, there are folks like that can just.
She was using a dramatic effect. Okay, so
gotcha.
That was to get the attention, and but people when they drink they chat more, don't they?
Sure, of course they do. Some of them stop listening altogether.
They say liquor could be truth serum.
That's what we were going for. We were trying to get.
And what about the finance? Have you worked for any Fortune 500 spying things or guessing what finances are?
We have a lot of different clients, but I wouldn't, like, for me personally, it's not like, I've had like the head CEO of one of these companies. It's more like,
we
a
did.
lot of different
Yes, we
business
did.
for James Spottiswoode.
Yeah,
project.
that one.
We
I found
actually-
out who it was. It was top secret. We weren't supposed to know who we were working for. And so they had the top 5 remote viewers, and they were not doing a really good job. So they came out and asked for the second tier, and somehow it was me and Debra. And so we got on
in like 3 of our friends. So there was like the old guys, and then there were, including Joe and some other people, and then there was us. And it was an associative remote viewing project where the main point was to try to make predictions about future outcomes. Yeah. And the person who hired us was Michelle.
It was the guy who invented Invisalign.
Oh.
Yeah, because he gave everybody $1,000, and then if you got a hit, you get an extra 100. If you got a miss, you would lose 50 or something. And then if he got the 2 million, he would have taken 1 million and split 2 million with all of us. But there was a flaw in some of the aspects of the project, so we had to stop the project. But they still paid us, and I don't know why you didn't look at who signed the check. That's how I found out who it was. So I looked at who signed the check, and I looked it up, and I'm like, that's the Invisalign guy. So that's how I found out that that's who we were working with.
Yeah, man. Every time somebody said it, every time somebody said Invisalign, everybody looked at me. I don't know why that was, but keep going.
What was he trying to do something new? This was post.
He was, a lot of these like Silicon Valley and these people, they like they're open-minded, and they'll use remote viewers to look at stock markets. We also have a very good friend that does cryptocurrency, and they're very successful with what they're doing. So I know that you talked about like corporate espionage. I don't think I've been involved in that, but that is a good idea. But I do know that there are some people that use remote viewing when they're making some kind of product. I actually had a student that she's a manufacturing plant, and she needed to troubleshoot a problem, use remote viewing to figure out the answer to why they couldn't make this engineering to work or whatever. So I had a client that was like developing hair growth products, and it wasn't quite working. It was working a little bit, but not as much as she wanted. So she wanted me to tune in and find out like what other ingredients she could do or how to tweak things. And so there's a lot of products.
Wow, there's so many uses for remote viewing that I have not thought of.
Yeah, product development, inventing things, definitely like what's going to happen with the stock, what's going to happen with crypto, what's going to happen with their job. I have a lot of people, people are usually like individually like worried about like their position in the companies, worried about their business partners, their employees, their bosses, so it's a lot of it is that, trying to navigate personal relationships.
And their love life. Their love life. Their love life. They want to know about the relationships and love life. Yeah.
Well, that one thing, if you want love life, you don't want liquor. Well, I'm a gay man, so I would never liquor. But I just just in general. Travis, you have any other question or?
Oh no! You guys got to move on because.
Yeah, shut up, Travis. He's taking enough time. Let's remote.
Wow, Manu. Wow.
Let's remote view him to the bottom row. Hey, Travis. That was great.
Hey, Travis is going to be my future husband.
Travis. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for coming by.
He's my future husband.
Travis is amazing, and that was a great question.
Love it.
All right, so who's next?
Our fellow remote viewer. You should be taking one of our classes.
I was actually going to talk a little bit about that, but talking on the liquor, See, I got my 6-month sobriety chip.
Oh, congratulations. Good for
Thank you. It
Awesome.
hasn't been easy, but it's ups and downs, but it's getting better.
Keep at it. Keep at it.
But talking about all this makes me wonder about precognitions, because I, for one, it's hit and miss. I'll have dreams of like something completely random, and then months, sometimes a year or two later, it comes to pass. And probably the one thing that sticks to my mind the most is when I had this dream about just a small little office space crammed full of computers. And I ended up having a job at a call center where we expanded. We had it System 1, System 2, System 3 for the different areas for the call center. And this one was called System 3.5, since it was literally in a closet space. It was like,
and you looked around and went, "Oh, this is the dream."
Yeah, and even the little sign that I made that I didn't even think of at first, but then when I hung it up in this call center, I was just like, okay, I've had a dream about this. I mean, there have been in other jobs I've had in the past, I've had dreams come into pass, like my job with Princess Cruises, my job with Yellow Cab, my job with even doing my working for Providence Hospital.
I often think when I dream, and not every dream, but I often think when I dream, some dreams, I think that I'm dreaming another version of this life. If I would have taken a left instead of a right, if I would have gone on that date, if I would have gone out that night, what my life trajectory would have been. I feel a lot of times in dreams, I'll feel like I'm living one of my other quantum realities and getting a little bit of a picture of it. If I would have married that girl, if I would have married that guy, if I would have whatever, you know.
And I've also had dreams when I was a little kid. If my dad got pissed off, he'd turn into the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. No. But I've also had your you know, a dream that 3 years later I went, oh whoa, this is deja vu. I dreamt this once. Has that happened? Does that happen to you guys, Michelle and Lynn and Debra?
Yeah, you know, dreams
can you dream psychic?
Oh yeah, well we were part of a year-long project where every week for a year we would have to dream a photo that we would be shown the next day, like 24 hours later, 48 hours later. So it was like similar to a remote viewing protocol where you get a future feedback photo to tune into, but instead of remote viewing, we did it with dreaming. And it was really cool. Like we had a lot of success, and we were amazed because we hadn't really done that before. And what we found was that, like, one, you could dream on demand, and you know, usually your dreams are kind of all over the place, or you're dreaming all night. But we worked with Dale Graff, who really was one of the founders of the government remote viewing programs, and he was the Defense Intelligence Agency coordinator of the Stargate program, and he's been into precognitive dreaming for years. So he taught us his protocol, and then he was on our project. So there were like 5 of us, and he was one of our dreamers, and he's incredible. But we would have to draw. So you wake up and you tell yourself that you're going to remember the very last dream of the night, and you have to produce a sketch. Like it's not an option. You have to wake up and you have to produce a sketch. And I think that goal of producing a consolidated sketch and description causes your dreams to be efficient. You know, so like some nights I would just like wake up, like I would dream a symbol, you know, just like a single like snapshot would be my dream, and that's it. And then it would be like a great match the next day to the picture. Sometimes it was more elaborate scenes, and you know, it was a little bit tricky to, you know, when you're writing it down before you get your feedback, you know, what part of this dream should I write down? But sometimes it's so clear, and it's a different quality. And Michelle did this too. I'll just say that I was really amazed because one of these weeks I did not have a dream. And I was like, oh my God, I did not dream, and my dream is due in 30 minutes. And I told my family, leave me alone. I need to go back to sleep and have a dream. And I did it like in 15 minutes, went to sleep, had a dream, had a picture, sketched it, and then it was a great match to the feedback photos. So that showed me like we can have so much control. And I know like people listening here, I'm sure we have like people that are into lucid dreaming and who have
I'm one of them.
Have you found like you have so much control?
Oh yeah, and especially if I read a book on lucid dreaming on how to lucid dream and how to create a map of where you want to go and all that kind of stuff. I had great success doing that. One of the things you can do to lucid dream more often and have control and realize you're dreaming while you're in a dream is 8-9 times a day in your waking life, look around and go, am I dreaming? And that will translate into your dreaming life. So when you're dreaming, you'll go, oh, this is a dream. And then you can start to take control of it. And I've never seemed to have total control. But usually I can fly, and that's usually what I go straight to.
That feels so amazing to fly.
Legacy Zach says, I mean, theoretically, reality is through our own personal perception for how our brains create it. So yes, technically this is a simulation when we are conscious. Yeah, our gray matter. And we're all the same damn thing, every single one of us. So that the idea of oneness and connection, especially with psychic abilities, there's no difference between me, you, and Michelle and Hildebrand and the rest of our guests. Well, we are the exact same thing. It's funny how we think we're individuals. I think that's goofy.
Yeah. When Michelle and I were doing this year-long project, like we would interface in our dreams together a lot. And in one of my dreams, Michelle was in it, and she was pointing to something, and she was saying, "Pay attention to this. Like this is what's important for the target." And then I then sketched what she pointed out, and it turned out to be that was like the most correct aspect.
Do you remember the other one where we had two different perspectives? I was sitting and having coffee at a table with somebody. That was my dream. And you said that you were in a distance and you saw me sitting and having coffee at a table. It was like really weird. It was so weird. Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah.
And it is interesting with like precognitive dreams, because sometimes I think a lot of us, like the last person speaking, will go through periods in our lives where we have a lot of that, and then other periods where we're not really having too much precognition. So it kind of comes and goes. I think for a lot of
I haven't had my period yet, but I'm waiting for it. Catie, hi.
Me neither.
How are you?
I am doing okay. I'm alive.
No, since everybody else was waving and sending you love, I decided to go the other way.
Oh, I send much love back.
Yeah. All right. So what's your questions? I hate when people do that. Sorry, I didn't mean to be one of those dorks.
Oh, you're getting all cockney now, are you?
Yeah. I hate that. Somebody's from England.
Not even Queen's tongue. He went cockney on you. Catie, I'd be offended. I'd be offended.
Well, Manu still does think that I live in London for some reason when he knows I hate London. So.
No, she lives in Sheffield.
Oh,
she lives in Sheffield. She said that 100. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yes.
I always picture her outside of London, like just Well,
Oh, okay. She lives.
You just jump on the train 40 minutes to London from Sheffield.
She lives in the Belfry at Big Ben.
It's about 3-4 hours on the train to London.
Oh wow! So that's.
Hey, Deb, we should do a road trip to go visit her.
Yes, we should.
Yeah, look,
we're coming over.
Oh, speaking of, if anybody is watching right now, the little pitch real quick before Catie asks her question. Dangerous Thoughts is trying to look for an investor to make the show much bigger and to go on the road and interview people and participate in some of the fringe science they're doing. So if you're interested in helping us get to that place, please contact me at my Gmail. It's manuentereme@gmail.com. And let me know, and we can talk about it and making the show much bigger. All right, so upside down. I don't know. She's not in Antarctica. She's not in Antarctica. She's in England.
Catie makes an appearance. Yeah, what happens is
crying out loud.
She's our
crying out loud.
she's the co-host on Technically Trek, and every once in a while, as she's co-hosting, she'll flip upside down. We call her Bat Catie because she's upside down.
Katie.
That was
So we
cool.
love Bat Catie.
That was really cool.
Okay, so Bat Katie, do you have a question for Michelle and Debra?
I do. But just speaking of dreams, I have so many weird dreams. It is unbelievable. I predicted my mother's breast cancer diagnosis. I've had so many weird things happen in dreams. It's unbelievable.
When you had that dream, what could you tell us more about that? Like, what was the dream?
Well, just for a little context, my mum still does, but we both used to do a lot of card crafting and make greetings cards and other types of crafts. But in the dream, I walked into a store that was just completely full of the cards that me and my mum had made. And for the first time in my life, one of my uncles and my cousin were in my dream. And I'd never dreamt about them before. And I thought that was really weird. And then I was passed a blank card and I couldn't move. All I could do is look forward. I couldn't turn my head, so I didn't know who had passed me the card, but the person felt familiar. And when I opened the card, there was a date written inside, the 27th of September. So, of course, me being me, I was going around asking everyone what was happening on the 27th of September for about 2 weeks. Nobody knew. Everyone thought I was crazy, to be quite honest. I had my sanity questioned a lot. And I knew it had something to do with my mother. And she'd been acting a little bit dodgy. So I thought, right, I'm going to have to confront her about it. Went round. She had to go out. She forgot the main thing that she needed to take with her. When I called her about it, she didn't seem to care. So I thought, right, something's going on here. When she got back, she told me that she had a biopsy. But before she could tell me any more, my grandmother called. And she said to my grandmother, I've got an appointment to go back for the results. So I shouted through, it's the 27th of September. And my mum looked at me like, really, like, how do you know? And when she got off the phone, she asked me, and I says, Mum, I've been asking everybody about the 27th of September. She went, oh my God, you have, aren't you? And I said, you're going to be diagnosed with breast cancer on that day. And she went, oh no, don't be silly. I'm sure it's something or nothing. And I went, no, Mum, I wouldn't say something like this unless I knew. And this is a knowing. I said, I know now who handed me that card. And it was my nana, my dad's mother. And she battled breast cancer for like 30 years and it eventually took her. And when we went to her appointment, she was diagnosed on that day.
Wow.
My mom has got possibly cancer right now. She told me this weird thing on the phone this morning. She said when she closed her eyes this morning, she could literally see all these little alien creatures running around in her body, and they had eyes and legs, and she could see them. And I was like, what? She goes, no, I could see them. Like I could see all these little things that were running around in my system. And I went, I don't know. I don't know why I shared that with you, but because my mom is getting a biopsy on Wednesday.
It's like, I used to tell my kids a story, like when they got sick and what a fever was, by using this story saying like the soldiers and the antibodies are fighting. So maybe her body is kicking in to fight this, or they're preparing to fight, and maybe it's a metaphor or something.
That's funny that you say that. One of my favorite drawings as a kid is the white blood cells versus the germs.
Isn't that great?
And I have the white blood cells are all military and gunned up, and the germs are like these monster things.
And if you look at them under a microscope, that's what they look like, right? The little viruses and the little parasites. Yeah, they have these. Mala disappeared. She's our next speaker. Mala, if you can hear us, you want to come off mute or or we're gonna have to move on to the. Oh, there she is. Okay.
I'm here.
Hey,
Sorry
Mala.
about that. I got distracted. It happens.
Yeah.
How are you guys tonight?
Oh, to all of
Good.
us.
Well, I just wanted to say I did watch your YouTube channel. So I loved it. I thought it was great, and I can't wait till the next one. So hopefully you announce that soon, because Danny Caputo.
Tuesday.
I have it subscribed, so I'll get the notification.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for watching it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for producing it. I love Danny Caputi too. She was amazing.
Yeah. We'll have to have her back. She's really brilliant.
YouTube.com/Psi Chicks Talk Show, and that's PSI Chicks Talk Show.
So
I love how that's done, because psychic is Psi PSY, and then how do you spell the rest of it? CHIC, chick. Psi
Well,
chick.
it
It almost looks like it should be pronounced Psi chick, right?
Well, it's PSI Chicks. It's not.
It's not with a Y. There's a typo. There's a typo.
Oh, it is with a Y?
No, it is not. But
no,
there's
it's
a
not.
typo up
PSI.
there.
Oh, I misspelled it.
No,
Okay.
you misspelled it. It's PSI.
Yes, I
PSI.
Okay. That I do the graphics. I'm going to fall on the sword here. I'm going to Mark Anthony myself. I am so sorry. Did not mean to do that.
I'm going to Mark Anthony myself.
So Catie didn't ask her question. Mala, she just wanted to know when we revealed and what ability was it? When did the two of you first reveal your abilities to each other, and what ability was it? My first thought was light as a feather, stiff as a board, light as a feather, stiff, and we lifted. Slumber parties.
We had lots of slumber parties, and it's like lifting someone up with just a couple of fingers, and she's like suspended above our heads, and then we're totally freaked out that we've lifted this person up, and we just let go, and she comes crashing to the floor.
Yeah, that's funny.
That was
that's why we always used to do that with somebody on a bed, so they have a soft landing.
You're nicer to your friends than we are.
You're not.
We just let them fall.
As long as it wasn't us.
Are you both witches too? Travis says The Craft 1995. That's funny. My wife is a witch.
So am I.
As long as it's not with a B, I'll take it.
No, just a witch, not a Satanist, a Luciferian. There's a difference, at least according to her.
But also, just one final question as well. How old were you both when you first realized you had any abilities, whether it was to see spirit or do remote viewing?
Well, for me, I didn't look at it as abilities, but because I have a twin sister, we were always having experiences, we knew what the other one was thinking and was going to say and what they were feeling. So I've been interested in these topics since I was just a few years old, but I didn't know that I could do anything towards controlling it or, doing intentional readings till I was about 27 or so. And I went to a school that taught meditation and then also psychic development. And that's why I think I'm really obsessed with these topics and training other people, because I'm like, gosh, how can you live that long and not know, what you're capable of? And, it's an ongoing process, and Michelle can speak about too when she realized, but yeah, it's we're always growing and we're always learning. Right now I'm doing lotto numbers with a group of people and, starting to realize we can tune into numbers too. And, didn't even know that a year ago. So it's our abilities are constantly expanding. And a lot of it is based on just what are you trying? What are you practicing? You got to practice a lot of this stuff. It's not, some of it just happens spontaneously, but, I think for ongoing, reliable success, you have to keep practicing. And that's the only way you're going to know what you're capable of.
Yeah, for everything, right?
Everything.
To build your intuition, to build your talent, to build your creativity. If you're not actively working on it, it's not gonna just magically improve.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing. Like, I think at our age, I think we're all kind of around the same age, and it's like we're starting to be able to see, like, across all areas of life, like, wow, I can do things and handle things that I couldn't do a few years ago. You learn like about your strengths, and it gives you encouragement. Like, wow, what'll I be like, or what will I be able to do in 20 years from now, 30 years from now? That's why. Like, I'm excited about living till 100 or more, because who knows what we'll be able to do on every level at that age. But
Well, I
Michelle,
won't be there, but I did. Dave Prime says she didn't get the opportunity to ask if classes offered could help me refine my precognition dreams. Do the classes that you guys teach help him get more in tune with that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So let's go to Mala, because we are way over time as usual.
And then I'm gonna need to, Mom, I'll be there in just a minute.
Yeah, we've got. I
think
we just have 2 more people. I think. So Mala, go
I
ahead.
think I might be the last one.
You might be actually, but I think I see.
No, we have.
Oh.
We have the retarded Dave Smith and Chris Leftwich behind you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So-
Then I will make it quick. First of all, in your you guys were mentioning the beaver and everything, and I was wondering if maybe you thought that could have been something related to NAFTA and the Canada trade agreements and the wood that Canada sells to the U.S.
It's possible, and for those that weren't tuning into our first Psi Chicks episode, where we were evaluating remote viewer sessions who had been asked to tune into who was going to be the next president. And one viewer had like beavers all over, pictures of beavers and wood all over their session. And then we found out later that someone had written a book about Trump. It was called Trump the Beaver. So we were like, yeah, maybe that's why they got a beaver. Maybe they had read that book. But, this gets into analyzing remote viewing sessions and, how concrete do we need to be? Some judges would be like, a beaver Trump, no, like that's a stretch. Or,
I don't think so.
Canada,
I mean, beavers will come into your property and they will screw it up, and it's the same thing that Trump is going to do to our country. So it's very.
Well, leave it to Beaver.
What was like Donald Trump, the beaver that built the wall? It was hilarious.
Yeah, I think that's what it was called, something like that, or
it was
yeah,
so fun.
yeah.
It was pretty funny.
And of course, we just have the Beaver Moon.
The Beaver Moon,
We
which
did
just
the
happened too.
Beaver Moon.
Nobody
So-
seems to know why they called it that, but
Yeah, if anyone knows, let me know
yeah.
why.
I know.
I don't want
I feel bad for anybody who's seen Trump's moon.
Yeah, me too. Actually, we did at my grandmother, who's long since passed away, but she was so amazing. I'm just going to tell this story for no reason at all. We made this little video during Christmas one year, and we were trying to make the most creative videos possible. And this was when the first VHS, video cameras came out, and all my cousins and nieces and nephews and grandparents got together, and they did the quarter moon, the half moon, the full moon, and my grandma's 77-year-old big old ass when they opened the bathroom door was the full moon. And
my God.
And we have a really uptight, big, Irish Catholic family. So when everybody saw Grandma's ass, all of a sudden it was like me and my mom and my dad, who are the black sheep of the family, just thought it was hilarious. But everyone else was like, "Oh my God!" So anyway.
Oh, this is when you break into a chorus of moons over Miami, right? You give us the opportunity
I'll never
there.
forget that image. My grandma's full moon. Okay, all right. So was that Mala? Thank you so much. Good to see you. Always love to see
you,
you.
Mala.
Who's next? Who's next? Who's next? The retarded Dave Smith. Hey, retarded Dave Smith. How are you?
How you doing, man?
Good,
So,
man.
My name's Zach, actually, by the way. But thank you for coming on, Michelle and Debra. And sorry about your mom. I know.
Yeah, it's all right. You know, she'll. I'll see her on the other side, and I'm thinking it's going to be not cancer, and it's going to be some autoimmune shit that she'll get treated with for a while, and then she'll die.
Oh.
But she's going to die anyway, so I'm all right with it.
We're all going to die.
Yeah, we're all going to go. So
yeah. So.
But yeah, it's a bummer. It's been stressing me a little bit, but I'm okay. Thank you, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, not a problem. In my prayers, man.
Thank you.
But that goes to my question. Actually, about the spirit world. Are we living in the spirit world ourselves, or are we just on the precipice of the spirit world? Are we actually in the spirit's domain? And this is all just not really real to us, or are we on the edge? And that is why we kind of get certain experiences.
Yeah, I think a lot of times our worlds are combined. You know, we're occupying the same space. You know, I don't think my mind can't really comprehend how this all works for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But we're definitely sharing the same space a lot of times. You know, and I think there's been some really great cases, like if you've ever heard of the skull experiments, which are some of the most documented series of seances where cases of physical mediumship where like the same group of mediums got together for like 4 or 5 years and produced just like the most amazing phenomenon. And you can find that like on YouTube, like an hour and a half long documentary called The Skull, SCOLE, happened in the UK. But the thing about that case is that they had all these spirit communicators, and they would do like crazy things like manifest their bodies in front of people, manifest pictures of themselves on film that was like not opened, that researchers brought in. They would have direct voice phenomenon where that like for 20 minutes a disembodied voice would be like having a conversation. The voice wasn't like going through the medium, it was just like in thin air. But the thing about that case was that the spirits coming through were not just deceased relatives. They were researchers. They were like deceased researchers, like engineers, biologists, like and people like Thomas Edison, and who had a strong interest in this stuff when he was alive. But all these different researchers in the spirit world were coming through and saying that they were like working like around the clock to develop technologies that they could use to communicate. So it's for me, like this really normalized the whole topic. So it wasn't like these, scary ghosts flying around like in sheets. These are real scientists who are so desperately trying to make it so that they could get their communications across to us. And what they were saying was like, there was a period of time where they could really like the veil was thinner, or it was like the perfect, everything was set up for them to come through. And then after like a few years, like they were like, we're going to have to stop coming. Like there's something going on here. They actually said that there was interference from like some other like alien beings, or there's some other forces, but also it was almost kind of like atmospheric conditions or energetic conditions that were going to like come in, so they couldn't keep that up. But this
if quantum reality is real, think about how complex and complicated that must be for to keep it structured and keep it all functioning the way it functions. My mind can't wrap myself around that either. But think about guys like Edgar Cayce and the Urantia book. If you guys have ever heard of the Urantia book, the Urantia book is this beautiful book. It's 1,400 pages long, and it's basically half of the book is about this guy that fell asleep and started channeling something, some spirit from some star system started channeling through him, and his wife wrote it all down. And the information that she got from the channeler was so amazing about the structure of the universe and how the universe works and how many gods there are and blah blah blah. It was trying to explain to us how everything works, and then what they did was they got a bunch of channelers together, which is the second half of the Urantia book, and they channeled a bunch of different spirits from or aliens or whoever these gods were, or I don't know the proper term to call them, but they were higher beings that were using human channelers to tell the human beings a 1,400-page roadmap of how the entire universe works. And reading the Urantia book is very difficult. It's a very hard read, but it's a super interesting read, and it basically tells you how all of this works. Very different than like the Bible would. It's not metaphorical. It's more of like there are the 17 something systems, and it's very wild to read that book. But for that to happen, also the retarded Zach Smith, we are we are mind, body, and spirit, right? I mean, for most of us believe this. So of course we must be in the spirit realm sometimes. Every time I eat mushrooms, I feel a little closer to the spirit realm.
Yeah, I bet you do. Zach, I don't mean to cut it short, but we do have one final caller. We are coming up on 2 hours.
Question, man. Good question. Nice to see you, man.
Love it. Thank you. All right, now it's
The left
time
witch.
for the left witch.
Sorry, I was muted. How's everyone doing tonight? Y'all good?
Good.
Oh yeah, nothing like a 20-year-old Budweiser commercial. Love it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Hey, dude, it's classic, man.
Hey, time
classic.
slides, man. There's no such real thing.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Manu, what were you talking about just a minute ago?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either. That's because I was gonna rebuttal on that, and now I can't remember. You're talking about
Mind, body, and
a book.
spirit.
A book. Yeah, a book.
Urantia book.
Yeah. Explain it. Explain it again. Cliff's
Okay,
notes.
the Urantia book was a bunch of channelers that got together for like a few months and channeled higher beings. And those higher beings were on a mission to tell mankind as best they could. In fact, in the very beginning of the book, it says, hey, you're human. You're not going to understand how all this works, but we're going to tell you in English the best that we can about how the entire universe works. And that's what the Urantia book is. You can contact the Urantia Society. They'll send you a copy. It's a wonderful read. If you can get through it. It's hard to get through.
Interesting. Hi, everyone. Michelle
yes,
and
you
Debra.
are. Keep going.
Well, of course I am. God damn it. Of course I am. Just dropped my phone. I'm sitting out here in my truck. So, Yeah. Oh, yeah. Back at you, Tyson.
If he starts talking about Mel's Hole or,
Oh, wow.
What? No,
I went a whole other way with that. No, I know about Mel's Hole. I'm sorry. Go on.
All right, Chris.
I've never been down to the bar and met him, but I'll trust you.
Oh,
anyway,
God, I knew he was going to do that. God damn it!
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I'm lost.
The real Mel's Hole is a hole that apparently has no end, and people have dropped things down, and they've never found it. It's a big. I think George Norrie covered it. I think Art Bell covered it. The Y-Files covered it.
Devil's Canyon or some shit like that. It's a big asshole, and yeah.
No,
it's a big asshole. Yeah, it's a big asshole.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. Anyway. I keep having these recurring dreams, and I'm always in the same locations. It's different dreams, and these are months and years apart, but I'm always at like a shopping mall or like this one place, or there's this one place where I go in my dream, and there's a barn, and it's always the exact same things in the barn. I open up the drawer, and it's the scissors and the tape and whatever. It's almost like being in a Star Trek holodeck. And there's a field back here, there's a line of trees, there's a field over here, and then there's a stream that goes back here. And I walk down the stream, and there's trees and stuff like that. And in the very, very back is a 1948 Tucker torpedo. If anyone doesn't know what that is, there were 51 of them made. 47 are still known to exist. One has been found. So there's 2 missing. And I've had this dream. I haven't had this dream in probably about a year or so, but I have this dream, and it's always the exact same thing. It was maroon, and it's just sitting there in the mud. It's right there next to the stream and all that. It's like it was just pulled back there and put, on somebody's, big ass giant piece of property. I don't know. Maybe. I just keep having that dream. Oh, and I've been abducted. It started when I was a toddler. It started when I was 3 years old. They fucked with me. Yeah, they're real.
Yeah, for sure. I think I am too.
Oh yeah, they're real, bigger than shit. Trust me.
Yeah, I've been.
Anyway,
so what about the dream?
That's my question. What do you think?
What did they look like, the aliens?
Mine were little blue guys with they sort of had like what I would call space suspenders on, and they would walk around my house in a pattern. My mom saw the typical gray one, except she said it had like owl type ears, like it was more animal like, and it was next to her bed going like this. My little blue guys were I don't know. I was 7 when I saw them, so they were just like little I don't know, those little things in the Toy Story with the claw goes down and grabs them. The claw.
Yeah.
They were like those guys, except they didn't have faces. They were blue and they had hoods and they had little freaking suspenders on. So go ahead, Chris. What did they look like to you?
Well, first of all, I'm going to ask: is your mom an Aquarius?
No, she's a Scorpio.
Okay.
But my mom is Aquarius.
But Debra's mom is an Aquarius.
And my mom just came in the door and she made me chicken soup, and I'm late and I'm getting in big trouble now.
Yeah, it's been a long show. It's been a long show. How about a quick answer to Chris Leftwich's dream? Any ideas on what this recurring dream is all about?
Well,
could the Tucker actually be at this spot? Because it could be anywhere on Earth.
It could totally be. This would be something you could maybe like do a meditation on it, like where you visualize yourself and like move around, like just kind of have like a waking dream and see if you can get more information. This could be a good task for a remote viewer too, to like, try to tune in to get a sense of what's going on there, because it could be anything from, past life or something you're going to be encountering, or just, there's so many different things. So, I never want to say for sure until.
And in my dream, I've always had the feeling that it's in Czechoslovakia. Why? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Grab a ticket, go to Czechoslovakia, and feel your way to this forest.
Yeah,
hey, why not?
All right. I'm such a ball actor.
Well, save your pennies. Save your pennies.
I have to.
Or manifest them. Okay, so I want to thank Michelle Freed and Debra Lynne Katz for coming on. Thank you so much for staying a whole hour late. This was a ton of fun. Also, check out Debra's books. You Are a Psychic, Extraordinary Psychic, Freeing the Genie Within, and Associated Remote Viewing. You can also go to YouTube at Psi Chicks Talks Show and check out their new channel. And all the information in the description below if you want to hire them, talk to them, and know more about psychic abilities. So until next week, keep your thoughts dangerous. In fact, our guest next week on Dangerous Thoughts is...
Here's what I'll tell you. As a gay man born in December, you know what I am, right? I'm a faggotarius.
Get dead on the edge.
take it to them. Ruin their motivation to survive. Robbers hide is like a jungle holding rest of a neighbor. You couldn't hold me like a tongue, your knees collapse in the weight. Hey, gorilla hearted, I'm beating my chest to stay alive. Take it to them. Ruin their motivation to survive. Robbers hide is like a jungle holding rest of a neighbor. You couldn't hold me like a tongue, your knees collapse in the weight. Gorilla hearted, I'm beating my chest to stay alive.